When you're losing your hair, you're not going to get it back. It's something that happens with age. There's a bunch of myths out there, regarding that it comes from your mother's side of the family. That's not true. Hair loss comes from both sides of the family. It's a mixture of genes, and it's a serious thing, you know what I mean? Because you know what you once looked like. You feel like your capabilities in life were, at least the ones that, I don't care who you are. You feel like physical attributes provide you certain abilities in life. You know what I mean? It provides you the ability to speak to somebody in a very confident manner. You know what I mean? Because you feel like what they're looking back at is successful, it's how you perceive yourself. You perceive yourself young and strong and fit and kind of like in your prime. And hair loss, whether people want to admit it or not, it really dictates how you feel about yourself. And I think a lot of guys, especially, they don't say, hey, I'm losing my hair and I think it's psychologically affecting me and I'm really kind of feeling like shit. But you'll notice they're wearing hats. The fella that I was talking about earlier, he don't want to get in pictures with his girlfriend anymore. I used to see this guy, firm fucking hairline, like a line of trees. You know what I mean? It looked great. And his hair is receding in a way that's less than desirable. And dude doesn't want to wear it that way. You know what I mean? And I don't blame him. He's either wearing hats, or when he's not wearing hats, I notice his girlfriend takes the pictures. And when she does, she takes them in a way that like crops off this part of his head, and for like one picture, yeah, you don't notice that. But I see that he's heavily diminished from being on her Instagram and taking public photos with her, posting them on Facebook and stuff, because we all know that's how girls like to show their life off, is on social media. They like take pictures of their boyfriend, show people what they're doing and what it looks like. And this dude is rarely in pictures, to the point where sometimes I question, are they even still together? And when I do see him, it's always cropped in the same way. So me, as being somebody who's gone through a hair loss, I know what's going on there. He's telling his girl, I don't want to be in the pictures, till she pretty much forces him to be in them, which he don't feel comfortable with anyway. And then she crops the pictures in a certain way, that basically when every picture starts to look like that, if you're somebody who's experienced a hair loss, you say, okay, fuck, this dude's losing his hair, and he doesn't feel comfortable. And I empathize with that. I know how that feels. I know when you try to go into a nightclub and they say, hey, you got to take your hat off. It's not, hey, I got to take my hat off and I got to come in here with this fucked up hairline. It's, hey, I got to go home. My night's over. You know what I mean? Or I got to go down to the fucking bar down the street that doesn't make you take your hat off, because one thing's for sure, I'm not taking my hat off to come into this club. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm doing. So, it's a real thing, and it affects people differently, but I can guarantee you it's not something that 99.9% of men are okay with. And that leads me into the next topic, which is that you also run into these guys, you know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, what you're doing is cool and it's awesome, but they'll immediately have this resistance, hey, that's not for me, man. I just really don't care about the hair, and it's this macho type of thing. It's this that, hey, that's a cosmetic thing and I don't give a shit about that. But realistically, it translates to more than being just a cosmetic thing. It translates to being a psychological condition. You know what I mean? You don't see yourself as somebody that's worthy anymore to go approach that 10 at the bar, because you don't feel like you're no longer a 10. You know what I mean? By her standard. And that's absolutely not true. And the nice thing about this is that even though most people don't want to talk about that, that's not the case. There's plenty of options and plenty of alternatives and things that you can do to basically turn back the clock. And so on this particular podcast, the Bob and Joe Show, I want to talk to you guys about what some of those options are. You can obviously get a hair transplant.